Welcome back to Old School Eats. I'm Derek Old School Fournier, and today we're going to do something that I learned when I went to a cooking class out at Leroy and Lewis. We're going to do beef cheeks, but we're going to do them beef cheeks confit. And no, I'm not exactly sure how to say that. I'm sure I'll say it at least 10 different ways throughout these videos. Welcome back to my tens of followers here on Old School Eats. It's been quite a spell. I got a new gig with some great people, had me very, very busy. But one thing I made time for was I recently went to a cooking school out in Austin, Texas at Leroy and Lewis. Anyone watching this channel, I suspect, is very familiar with Leroy and Lewis, Michelin star rated barbecue joint. I went out there for a week. I did the barbecue trail. I've got some videos on that I may splice together where I went to Franklin and Terry Black's, and actually I went to the original Black's. But I went out there for a cooking class with Evan Leroy and team. Evan, Cole, Joe Yim, Bradley Robinson was out there. It was really cool. There was an interesting mix of home cooks and restaurateurs, and we got a chance to see how they make the things that make them so great. One of the things we're going to do is their beef cheeks, which was one of the things that kind of put them on the map when there were some brisket price challenges. There's a terrific video on YouTube by Evan Leroy when they were still in their food truck, talking about how they came to this idea. In typical Malcolm and I fashion, I had one pack of beef cheeks, and I ordered more from a place called Wild Fork, and now we have 4 packs of beef cheeks. So we have a lot of beef cheeks, but if you've never worked with beef cheeks, I'm going to show you what these things are all about. This is a beef cheek, as Bradley would say. It looks unappealing, but it's got 2 pieces. This one's already pretty much split for you. This is the cheek side. The cheek side looks vaguely like a large turkey breast. You can draw some other visual conclusions if you'd like. All of this other meat, the fat and the meat, can be cooked down into barbacoa, which we'll do while we're cooking this out here today. It just takes longer. We may do a video on it sometime, but we won't be doing that today. What I'm going to do now, though, is trim this cheek up, as well as all of these, get down just to the cheeks themselves, and then I'm going to season them up. I'll go over the seasoning in a minute, but for the trim perspective, see how this one's already sort of split? You won't always be this fortunate. This one already had the split pretty clear. I clearly should have sharpened my knife because this sinew is non-trivial. This is going to go into a barbacoa pile, which we'll put in another bucket. For the rest of this, you really want to kind of just try and trim the best you can. Most of this is going to cook down pretty nicely, but it's almost like the same rules you use with brisket. You want to cut the edges off. They always say make it aerodynamic. The offset cookers are more of an issue with that. With my gravity feed, it's not really a deal. I did see when I was in Austin with their great pits, how much airflow they get, and it is non-trivial. You want to get this kind of stuff off here. I really have to sharpen this before I do many more of these. The silver skin up here you don't necessarily care about. I'm going to trim this edge a little bit, but it's just like brisket trim. If you keep screwing with it, you'll always find more stuff to trim. So what I would say is get to the point where you have a cheek. This is thick. That's not going to render. I'm going to take that off with this not sharp knife, because I've been bitching about it since we started. All I did there was angle my knife up because it was thick enough that the knife would not just slice through it. Took that off. I'll take this last little piece off as well because I don't like it. Putting slight pressure behind it, angling the knife up as I go through. This is just because I saw them doing it with the offset. And now we've got a nice beef cheek. You'll notice the marbling here. It is incredibly well marbled. What we're going to be doing in the cook, and I'll explain a little bit here before we season it, we're going to do Dalmatian, which I'll explain in the seasoning section, which is salt, pepper. We're going to smoke it for 4 hours, try and get a good crust on it. Then we're going to put it in a pan with a bunch of beef tallow and confit it. I don't know if I can use confit as a verb. I'm not trained in this kind of shit, but we're going to cook it for another 4 hours until it gets to about 200 degrees, and then these things will be sliced and delicious. So you saw what a full beef cheek looks like. And when you get packages from Sam's or from wherever you order them online, you'll get maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 in a package. What the hell is the rest of it? It's all of this connective tissue. This is what we talked about making good barbacoa, and it does. There's a lot of fat that will render down, but there's a lot of really good meat in here too. If you try to get cheeks out of this, there ain't a cheek there. Don't do that. Just go ahead, part it up, season it up, and cook it down for barbacoa. Bradley Robbins has a great video on it on YouTube. For us, we're not going to go through and make this much cleaner. We're just going to part it up so it's easier on the tray. We're back after trimming, and we had 4 packages of beef cheeks. 1 from Sam's, 3 from Wild Fork. The Wild Fork packages were a little bit smaller. I talked about how much waste there is. This is the waste pile. Now, someone could probably cook some of this down, but if you look at some of the cross-section, there's very little meat there. It's mostly fat that won't render down. Now, could you do that as part of barbacoa? Maybe, but you only get 1 little strip of meat. I'm just not interested in that effort. There are people who are better than I who could do that. This is what we're gonna actually do as barbacoa. I'm gonna part this up, season it up, and we'll cook that down for tacos, burritos, anything that we can wrap around a tortilla around. The cheeks we ended up with are over here. I showed you one earlier. We ended up with 6. And I'm here to say all cows are not cheeked the same. You got a couple big bad dads here, little tiny one. These are the cheeks that we're gonna end up doing in the smoker till they're about 160, 170 degrees. We're really just looking to form a bark. Then we're gonna pan them with a ton of tallow, and we're gonna confit them all the way to about 200, 205 degrees. And then what Leroy and Lewis do is they hold them in the warming oven overnight the same way you would brisket at about 160. Take them out of the tallow and then slice them. I probably won't do an overnight hold just because of the video, because if Malcolm has to stay over, then he gets in trouble. I don't want that to happen. So we'll probably slice them sooner than we normally would. But that's the process right now. The barbacoa is a separate video. Like I said, check out Bradley Robinson's. But right now, we're going to get these seasoned up. So far you've heard me say Dalmatian. I picked this up when I was out at the class. It's just a descriptor for the pepper and salt combination that barbecue enthusiasts use, especially out of Texas. The ratio is 2/3 by volume, not by weight. There's a lot of discussion about the importance of using Diamond Crystal kosher salt because it's the same size as 16 mesh ground pepper. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. I suspect if you don't do that, you could have some issue. The biggest challenge is salt. There's a lot of beef in here. I pre-mixed this. I'm gonna shake it all up, get it going, throw it in the tub, and then we'll get them all seasoned up. We'll show you what they look like. We'll get these on the smoker. All right, we've got our Dalmatian here in our bus bin, the barbacoa over here, the cheeks over here, and it seems like this is gonna be a problem, but it really isn't. We're using the moisture from the meat. We don't need a binder because the meat's already wet. I've got over there a rack that I'm gonna put these guys on. Once I get a good coating, we're gonna put them out there and get them on the smoker. And it's funny, this looks super sloppy, but this is in fact exactly how we did it out at the class. Maybe even in the same bus bin from Restaurant Depot. Kudos to the team out there for sort of diming me onto the stainless steel carts, which I now have my grinder and sausage stuffer and random other heavy as hell things that a home cook probably shouldn't have, but I have, in my lack of wisdom, went and purchased, now have available to me. So get those rolled around in that Dalmatian. I know in some of the early videos people put garlic powder in there too. Do what you want, follow your heart. I don't think there's a wrong way. The pepper is really what we're using to create this bark. And it does seem to be the staple of that Central Texas BBQ. So I'm going to get those guys all coated up. That looks pretty good to me. When they put them on the pit at Leroy and Lewis, they're putting on a much larger cooker than what I have. I've got a vertical gravity feed. They're doing it on a large offset. They actually, sometimes you try not to line your meats up where they're touching. Here it doesn't matter because they're going to shrink up. There's a lot of intramuscular fat. So they'll put them side to side on the big cooker, and as they cook, they'll shrink up. For us, this will be fine. It'll be on one rack. I'll get the rest of this barbacoa seasoned up, and then we'll get it out there. The barbacoa, to be honest, is just easy. We're going to end up braising that, not in tallow, but just in sort of a beef broth, maybe a little bit of wine. I haven't done barbacoa before. I need to go back and actually watch how Bradley does it, to be fair. But for us, we're just going to get it seasoned up, get everything out in the cooker. Out here in the Meat Palace, it's Florida, so it's about 7,000 degrees. We got the ceiling fans going, so it's not too bad. I've got the Myron Mixon G20 rocking 250. Little note, if you use Fireboard controllers with the drive fan, because you're a lazy shit like I am and you don't want to manage a fire. Don't use it not plugged in if you expect it to drive the fan, because even though it should have enough power to drive the fan, it will not exceed 40% fan. So despite this being an incredible cooker, Malcolm and I went out to the store today. We came back and it was sitting at like 150 for an hour and a half because we're both shitheads. So now it's where it needs to be. We're going to get it open. I am going to make easy work of this. It's not my first barbecue. Put those cheeks right there. I am going to need a paper towel because I didn't bring my new gloves out. Malcolm always gets nervous when I do this. I'm going to pull a tray out. Oh, there's my clip for my ambient temperature probe. Wonder where that went. Now we'll get all this barbacoa out on here. Shut her down. And we'll see these guys in about 4 hours. We'll check a couple of times to see how things are going. But generally speaking, you're going to go about 4 hours on this to get a nice crust going. And then we'll prepare our pans both with tallow and with a braising fluid for the barbacoa and the beef cheeks. All right, we're back out of the meat palace. I'm about to take these beef cheeks off. They've gotten to about where I want them to be. I will spot check them again. We're going to put them in this pan. Then we'll take them inside, pour them, get them in a bath of tallow, reseal them, put them onto confit until they get to about 200 degrees, where we'll hold them potentially overnight. Depends on how the weather goes. Let me get this cooker open. We thought when we started we may have to use a full-size pan, full hotel pan, but as it turns out, these guys did shrink up nicely, as predicted. You'll get a look at them. We'll get those guys sealed up in a pan with some tallow and put to rest. All right, we're back out in the meat palace to check the temperature on our beef cheeks. They look pretty good. 170. Interesting, 149. How's this one that hot? Interesting. Yeah, definitely hotter towards the back. 160. But to give you an idea what they should look like, look at the little pucks. So you got some fat oozing out of that puncture mark. We're going to go ahead and get the tallow out here and get them panned. We'll shut this up. Our barbacoa on the top here, for anyone checking, looks vaguely the same. Big, hitting around 140, 150. Again, it's much hotter towards the back. I must have a little bit of a hot spot. That's interesting. We'll get those both panned and keep them going. Inside, we've got our beef cheeks here. I actually snuck one of my wireless temperature probes into one of them. Not necessary. We're going to go time and then probe them, but we want them to get about 203 to 205 degrees. It's not super critical, but you want them to get nice and soft in this confit bath. Depending on how the calendar and time zones work tonight with Malcolm's schedule, we'll either be doing this tonight or we're going to put it in the hot hold overnight at 160 degrees, which is actually how they do it at Leroy and Lewis. But right now we're going to use some of my smoked tallow, put these guys in a bath. I will almost certainly make a mess of this, but I'm doing it this way so that I can see the mess that I make. Did I stick the landing on the amount of tallow? Boy, I did. Stuck the landing. So there are our cheeks in their little bath. We're going to put plastic wrap, which is something I had not done before, but they do at Leroy and Lewis. And I think they do it a couple of other places too. I don't do it because I hate plastic wrap, because this is what happens with plastic wrap. I end up swearing a lot. It gets wrapped around itself. If I used my commercial plastic wrap, which I should have, it would have been better. The upside is because this is hot, it's going to stick. This is just to keep more of the steam in, as I understand it. And then we will wrap it again with our heavy duty aluminum foil, which I love because it works the way all these things should work. But I'm here to tell you that steam collection is nice, and this pan is now no longer cold. We'll get this wrapped up, put back on the cooker. Still sitting about 250, probably about 4 more hours. These guys will be ready to rest. As evening sets at the Meat Palace, we caught up on schedule. This is the way sometimes this goes. Cooker's rocking 250. We did try some stuff that came out of it earlier. The smoke profile is what we like. We've got our confit beef cheeks in here and our barbacoa. I'm going to pull both of them out, so I'll probably use the same clip if I end up making the barbacoa video. But our beef cheeks are really the focus of this video. They've been in that tallow bath now for about 3 hours and change. Rocking about 250 on the cooker. And the internal temperature, according to our RFX probe, which is swimming with them, is about 204 degrees, which is about where we want to be. We're going to take it out. We're going to take a look. We're going to temp some of them. I'm going to throw on a glove and poke them around. Then we're going to rest them. As we talked about before, Leroy and Lewis at night, they would pull these off. They would hold them in the warming oven until next day's service. We're not going to do that tonight because we're going to try and get this video done this evening. But what we should see is tender little pucks of beef cheek goodness. We'll let it air out, let it stop cooking, carry over, and then we'll go ahead and rest them and get them sliced up. Mental note, when you're taking that out of the cooker, remember it's full of tallow and fluid dynamics are a thing. All right, if you recall, we wrapped this with aluminum foil and plastic wrap. I apparently wrapped it pretty aggressively based on how I'm having to wrestle with it to get it off. Nice and squishy. What we would expect. This tallow is warm, in case you're wondering. There's our probe. It's been in the bath. We're going to use our thermopen, get some other readings, see if everyone's where they need to be. 202, 207, 203, 207. They feel pretty good.
They look amazing.
203. So we're going to let these guys sit out here, tented, rest for a little while. We'll cover them up so none of the critters, we have a suspicion there may be a critter, as they call them in Florida, in our trash can. But both of us are too scared to figure it out. So we're going to let that son of a bitch live there for the rest of his days. So we're going to let these rest probably about an hour. Then we're going to pull them out, slice them, show you what we got. All right, so our beef cheeks have now rested for about an hour in their tallow bath. They are squishy. I was talking to Malcolm. Normally this would be held overnight. I only took them to about 203 because I want to be able to slice them. With brisket, if you go much higher than that, you have a risk of it falling apart. So we're going to go ahead and put one of these on the board. So there's no right way or wrong way to slice these because there's no grain to worry about. When I was at Leroy and Lewis, we went for about number 2 pencil thickness. I will say that these are slicing very nicely, or they seem to be. That's one cheek sliced. We'll go to the middle, see what we got. I didn't get it all the way through there, my bad. See that collagen converting to gelatin in the middle? Nice smoke ring. Get that in there, Malcolm?
It's amazing.
Well, let's try bite. You know, there are some things that is impossible to convey. This tastes like the best piece of point brisket ever. It has so much flavor. We got really lucky with the smoke penetration out there. Super, super moist. Really, really rich. I remember that from being at Leroy and Lewis. So in summary, beef cheeks, a little pain in the ass to trim up, but once you realize a lot of that's going to be waste, it's better. Get them cleaned up. Dalmatian, smoker for 4-ish hours. Put them in the confit. Holy cow, that's like a meat bomb in your stomach. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell. Love to see your comments. Big shout out again to Evan, Cole, Joe, or Joey rather, Bradley, the whole crew out there, the Stevens that I was with from Philadelphia, the smoked beef cheeks a la Leroy and Lewis. They would typically do this on white bread with pickles on top. I hate pickles. Sorry to Anna. I know you love pickles. I hate pickles. But this shit is delicious. Thanks for tuning in to Old School Eats.